Let's go shopping, Peppa. Once upon a time, Peppa and George were having their breakfast.
What are we doing today, Daddy?
Asked Peppa. We need to go shopping, replied Daddy Pig, rubbing his tummy. For lunch.
Yippee!
Cheered Peppa and George. They loved going shopping. When breakfast was finished, everyone jumped into the car.
We're here!
Cheered Peppa when they arrived at the supermarket. Peppa and George leapt out of the car and started jumping up and down excitedly. They loved the supermarket.
First, we need a trolley,
said Peppa. Daddy Pig put George in the trolley, said George happily.
Daddy,
said Peppa.
Can I sit in the trolley too?
Laughed Daddy Pig. You're too big, Peppa, but you can help with the shopping.
Oh, goody,
said Peppa, skipping into the supermarket. There was so much to see inside.
Can we get one of everything?
Asked Peppa. No, Peppa, that would be far too much, replied Mummy Pig.
But how do we know what to get?
Asked Peppa. We use this, said Daddy Pig, holding up a piece of paper.
Ugh,
said Peppa.
What's that?
It's our shopping list, explained Mummy Pig. We have 4 things on our list. Daddy Pig looked at the list closely and read it aloud slowly. 4 tomatoes, spaghetti, 4 onions, fruit. 4 tomatoes, spaghetti, 4 onions, fruit.
I'll find it all,
said Peppa.
I can see the tomatoes,
cried Peppa. Peppa counted 4 tomatoes as Mummy Pig put them into a bag. 1, 2, 3, 4. She skipped off to put them in the trolley. Daddy Pig crossed them off the list. What's next on the list? Asked Mummy Pig. Can you remember?
Spaghetti!
Cheered Peppa.
Spaghetti!
Cheered George. Spaghetti was Peppa and George's favourite.
I can see it,
cried Peppa.
Follow me.
Peppa found the spaghetti and put it in the trolley. Well done, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. Peppa and George couldn't remember what was next on the list.
Dinosaur!
Guessed George.
George,
said Peppa.
there aren't any dinosaurs in the supermarket.
Daddy Pig laughed. Onions are next.
Onions?
Cried Peppa.
I remember.
She raced off and counted 4 onions into a bag.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Then she put them in the trolley. Well done, Peppa, said Daddy Pig, crossing them off the list. The last thing on the list was fruit.
I'll get it,
cried Peppa. It's George's turn now, said Mummy Pig. Replied George.
How about bananas?
Suggested Peppa.
Or apples or pears or oranges?
George shook his head. He didn't want any of Peppa's suggestions. He wanted a very big watermelon. George was very happy with his choice, even though it was bigger than him. Daddy Pig passed George the watermelon. It was very heavy. George dropped the watermelon in the trolley. It was so big, the whole trolley shook. Everyone laughed. Well done, George. Daddy Pig crossed fruit off the shopping list. That's everything, said Mummy Pig. Let's head to the checkout and pay. At the checkout, Peppa and Daddy Pig put the food on the conveyor belt. Miss Rabbit scanned each thing. Tomatoes, beep. Onions, beep. Watermelon, beep. Spaghetti, beep. Great big chocolate cake, beep. Chocolate cake? Said Mummy Pig, Peppa and George. That wasn't on the list. Peppa, did you put a chocolate cake in the trolley? Asked Mummy Pig. No, Mummy, replied Peppa. George, did you put a chocolate cake in the trolley? Asked Mummy Pig. No, replied George. Well, I didn't put it in the trolley, said Mummy Pig. Then who did? Asked Peppa. Said Daddy Pig, holding up the chocolate cake guiltily. I thought it might be nice for pudding. Daddy Pig, said Mummy Pig. Sorry, said Daddy Pig, turning red. It just looked so delicious. It does look rather yummy, said Mummy Pig. Let's pretend it was on the list. Hooray! Everyone cheered. When Peppa and her family arrived home, it was time for lunch. Hooray! They had delicious spaghetti, followed by a big piece of watermelon and a great big slice of chocolate cake. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig loved going shopping for food. But they loved eating it most of all. The end. Peppa Pig and the Family Reunion. Peppa and George are very excited. Today the pig family is having a reunion.
Wow!
Everyone in the family will be there.
You've brought pie,
says Peppa.
I love pie.
Says George. Uncle Pig and Auntie Pig unpack the car. They have brought a lot of stuff for the baby. Daddy Pig helps Uncle Pig unload a high chair, some baby toys, a stroller, and even a bathtub. Peppa likes baby Alexander. Would you like to help feed the baby? Asks Auntie Pig. Oh yes, says Peppa. She tries to feed baby Alexander. He turns away. Peppa tries again. The baby won't open his mouth. Oh no! Try playing an airplane, says Auntie Pig. She shows Peppa how to fly the spoon into baby Alexander's mouth. It works.
Can you say airplane?
Asked Peppa. Baby Alexander can't talk yet. Peppa wants to teach baby Alexander to talk.
Can you say dinosaur?
Says baby Alexander. Later that night, It's time to put baby Alexander to bed. But he doesn't sleep for long.
What's that noise?
asked Peppa. Baby Alexander is awake.
No, what's that other noise? That's the vacuum cleaner,
says Chloe. Why are you vacuuming at night? asked Daddy Pig. And why is Auntie Pig playing a trumpet? Loud noises are the best way to get baby Alexander to sleep, shouts Uncle Pig. We are a very noisy family. It is a very noisy night. After breakfast the next morning, everyone goes for a walk. Peppa tries to teach baby Alexander a new word.
Look, a bird,
says Peppa.
Caw, caw.
Says baby Alexander.
Sky,
says Peppa.
Caw, caw.
Says baby Alexander. Then it's time for the family reunion lunch. They are having Peppa's favourite, spaghetti. Daddy Pig and Uncle Pig love spaghetti too. Both of them ask for more. For dessert, everyone has a piece of Granny Pig's pie.
Hooray! Yum,
Peppa says to baby Alexander.
Caw, caw.
Says baby Alexander. Chloe has brought her puppet theatre, and she and Peppa and George put on a puppet show.
Wow!
They make a Chloe puppet, a Peppa puppet, and a dinosaur puppet for George. Everyone claps after the puppet show. Well, almost everyone. Daddy Pig and Uncle Pig have fallen asleep. Peppa and Chloe go outside to play before the reunion is over. Baby Alexander likes to watch them play in the mud.
Look, baby Alexander,
says Peppa.
We're jumping up and down in muddy puddles.
And then it happens. Baby Alexander says his first word.
Puddles.
Well done, baby Alexander. Well done, Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig, My Daddy and Me.
This is my daddy and me. We do everything together. I love doing things with my daddy because he can do anything. Wow! What are we going to do next, Daddy? Here are some of our favourite things to do. We love being cheeky monkeys at the playground, swinging on the climbing frame, and zooming down the slide at super speeds. My daddy is king of the playground. We love gliding across the ice in our skates and wearing fabulous costumes. You're so graceful, Daddy. My daddy is king of the ice. We love painting pictures of nature, especially when nature joins in.
Bonk, bonk.
My daddy is king of painting pictures. We love playing sports, especially muddy ones. My daddy is king of sports. We love planning adventures and going on them too. Are you sure this is the right way to playgroup, Daddy? My daddy is king of adventures. We love travelling together and always go everywhere as fast as we possibly can. Come on, Daddy, we're going to be late for the ball. My daddy is king of the road. But most of all, we love having picnics together. We eat them on the beach, in the countryside, or even high up in the clouds. My daddy and me love doing everything together. My daddy is king of my whole world.
The end. Peppa Pig and the Vegetable Garden. Peppa Pig and her little brother George are playing at Grandpa Pig and Granny Pig's house. They love to help Grandpa Pig in the garden.
What are you doing, Grandpa Pig?
asked Peppa.
I'm planting seeds. What happens to the seeds?
They grow into plants. I make a small hole in the ground, put the seed inside and cover it with earth. Then I water it. Everything in my garden grows from seeds like this.
Wow!
Ouch! says Grandpa Pig. An apple fell on his head. Peppa and George laugh. Grandpa laughs too. Look, he says, inside the apple are more seeds.
To grow more apple trees,
says Peppa.
I want to plant a seed,
Peppa says. She makes a little hole and puts a seed in it. Then she covers the seed with earth. Grandpa lets her water it. Now we wait for it to grow, he says. Peppa waits. George waits. They wait and wait and wait.
It's not doing anything,
says Peppa. Grandpa Pig laughs. You have to be patient.
Ah! What's this?
says Peppa.
It's a monster! Monster!
says George. Grandpa Pig laughs. It's just a little snail. Arr, says George.
Monster!
He likes a snail.
Let's play snails,
says Peppa. Grandpa Pig finds some baskets for Peppa and George, and they play snails in the garden.
Look, says Peppa, a butterfly. Why do butterflies love flowers?
They drink from flowers, says Grandpa Pig.
Wow!
They drink the flower's nectar. It's their food.
Look at me, I'm playing butterfly,
Peppa shouts. George wants to be a butterfly too.
No, George, I am a butterfly. You can play worm.
George doesn't want to play worm.
Come on, George, says Grandpa Pig. Playing worm is fun.
Grandpa Pig shows George how to lie on the ground and wiggle. Soon Peppa wants to play worm too. Grandpa plants some more seeds. He drops them on the ground. But when he turns around, a little bird has eaten them.
Shoo, shoo,
says Grandpa. Granny Pig comes to see.
We need a scarecrow,
she says. Grandpa Pig brings Peppa and George to his garden shed.
We'll find lots of things in here to make a scarecrow with, he says. He finds sticks, string, some straw, and an old sack. They build the scarecrow, then dress it in some old clothes. Peppa and George paint a face. The birds see the scarecrow. They stop eating Grandpa's seeds. The birds look sad, says Peppa. They must be hungry. Granny Pig brings out a bird feeder. Lunchtime, birds, she calls. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig have come. Granny Pig needs blackberries to make a pie for lunch. Everybody wants to help. This blackberry bush has been here since I was a little girl, says Mummy Pig. Mummy Pig climbs a ladder to get to the berries at the top. Oh no! Mummy Pig falls into the bush. Where is she? Mummy Pig is okay, but she looks like a berry bush. Peppa and George pick berries from the mummy bush. Grandpa Pig, Peppa and George finish picking vegetables for lunch.
Hooray!
They make a salad. Granny Pig cuts up a cucumber. I love cucumbers, says Peppa. Yuck, says George. He doesn't like salad. Grandpa has an idea. He gives George a new plate.
Dinosaur,
says George. He eats the salad. He likes it. He loves Granny Pig's blackberry pie too. Yum! The end. ABC with Peppa. A. Apple. B. Ball. C. Car. D. Dinosaur. E. Egg. F. Fish. G. Guitar. H. Helicopter. I. Insect. J. Jelly. K. Kite. L. Leaf.
wow,
M. Monkey. N. Net. O. Orange. P. Parrot. Q. Queen. R. Rainbow. S. Scarecrow. T. Teddy. A. Umbrella. V. Van. W. Wellies. X. X-ray.
wow,
Y. Yacht. Z. Zebra. A. B. K. D. E. F. G. H. E. J. K. L. M.
N O P Q R S T A V W X Y Z. The end. Peppa Pig. Lottie Llama starts playgroup. It is a lovely sunny day, and Peppa is heading to playgroup. On her way inside, Peppa hears a little girl talking to her mummy. But Peppa can't understand what the girl is saying. We have a new pupil joining us today, says Madame Gazelle once playgroup begins. Please make her feel welcome.
Hello, ich heiße Lottie Llama,
says the new girl.
That means, hello, my name is Lottie Llama.
Lottie can speak German, says Madame Gazelle. Isn't that wonderful?
Wow.
Can we learn German?
asked Peppa. Of course. I think Lottie will be a very good teacher, says Madame Gazelle. And the best way to learn is to play.
Hooray!
Yay! Cheer the children running inside.
Who is good at numbers?
asked Lottie when they reached the playground.
Me,
cries Peppa, hopping across the hopscotch squares.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In German, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
says Lottie, following Peppa across the hopscotch squares.
1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is 3, 4 is 4, and 5 is 5.
Wow.
Now it's your turn,
Lottie tells Peppa and her friends.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Say the children.
That's right,
says Lottie, smiling. Everyone has lots of fun counting to 5 in German. Before they go home, the class sings a song together. First they sing it in English. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Then they sing it in German. Kopf, Schultern, Knie und Fuß, Knie und Fuß. The grown-ups hear Peppa and her friends singing.
Wow.
Bravo, children, says Daddy Pig.
I can speak German, Daddy,
says Peppa. That's fantastic, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. How was playgroup? Lottie's mummy asked.
It was great,
says Lottie.
I made lots of new friends. Hello,
says Peppa.
ich heiße Peppa Pig. Wow, you can speak German,
says Mummy Llama.
Yes,
cries Peppa.
I had an amazing teacher.
Peppa loves speaking other languages. Everyone loves speaking other languages. The end. Read it yourself. Peppa Pig. Daddy Pig's office. Peppa and George are here to see Daddy Pig's office.
Wow.
What do you do at the office?
Asked Peppa. You will see, says Daddy Pig. This is the intercom, says Daddy Pig.
Can I press the button?
Asked Peppa. Yes, says Daddy Pig. Peppa says hello into the intercom. This is the lift, says Daddy Pig.
Can I press the button?
Asked Peppa. Let George have a go this time, says Daddy Pig. George presses the lift button. The lift goes up to Daddy Pig's office.
Wow.
Daddy Pig, Peppa and George all go in. This is Mrs. Cat, says Daddy Pig.
Hello, Mrs. Cat,
says Peppa. This is Mr. Rabbit, says Daddy Pig.
Hello, Mr. Rabbit,
says Peppa. Peppa and George are here to see the office, says Daddy Pig. This is what I do at my desk, says Mr. Rabbit. He stamps paper with a stamp.
Can I have a go?
Asked Peppa. Yes, says Mr. Rabbit. Stamp, stamp, stamp.
This is what I do at my desk,
says Mrs. Cat.
Meow.
She has a computer and a printer.
Wow.
Can I have a go?
Asked Peppa. No, let George have a go now, says Daddy Pig. Mrs. Cat lifts George up. He has a go on the computer and printer. Print, print, print. Peppa and George are printing with Mrs. Cat's printer.
Hooray!
Look at all this paper,
says Mrs. Cat.
Meow.
It's time to go and see my desk, says Daddy Pig.
Do you have a stamps and a computer?
Asked Peppa. No, says Daddy Pig, but I have pens.
Pens are the best. Can I have a go?
Asked Peppa. Peppa and George like Daddy Pig's pens.
This is good,
says Peppa. Draw, draw, draw. Time to go now, says Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig's office is good.
Wow.
I like Mr. Rabbit's job and I like Mrs. Cat's job, but I like your job the best, Daddy,
says Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig, Tooth Fairy. Peppa and George are eating their favourite food, spaghetti. Suddenly, something falls onto Peppa's plate. What's that? Peppa cries. It's your tooth, Daddy Pig laughs. If you put your tooth under the pillow tonight, the Tooth Fairy will pay you a visit. She will take the tooth and leave you a shiny coin, says Mummy Pig. Good night, Peppa. Good night, George, says Mummy Pig. Good night, my little piggies, grunts Daddy Pig. Peppa puts her tooth under the pillow for the Tooth Fairy.
Let's stay awake all night and see the Tooth Fairy,
says Peppa. Giggles George.
George, where's the Tooth Fairy?
Peppa asks.
She's very late.
But George is so tired he has fallen fast asleep.
I'm not going to sleep.
Snores Peppa. When everything is quiet, something appears at the window. The Tooth Fairy has arrived, but Peppa is fast asleep. The Tooth Fairy pushes a shiny coin under the pillow and takes Peppa's tiny tooth. Peppa, George, wake up, it's morning, says Mummy Pig brightly. Did the Tooth Fairy come? Daddy Pig asks. No, says Peppa sadly. Let's look under your pillow, says Daddy Pig. Look, Peppa, the Tooth Fairy has been, and she's left you a shiny coin. Hooray! Peppa laughs. Next time I will stay awake and I will see the Tooth Fairy. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Fairy Tale. Once upon a time, Peppa and George were looking at storybooks together.
This one has 3 bears, porridge, and a hungry wolf looking for an old lady to eat,
said Peppa. George looked worried.
Don't worry, George,
added Peppa.
There's always a happy ending,
sighed Peppa.
I wish we lived in a fairy story.
Peppa, George, called Mummy Pig. It's time to go to Granny and Grandpa Pig's house for lunch. We're going to walk there through the woods.
But we want to go on a magical fairy tale adventure, said Peppa.
Maybe if we look hard enough, we might see some magical things on the way, said Daddy Pig.
This doesn't feel like a magical fairy tale place,
said Peppa as they walked through the woods. It feels a bit magical to me, said Daddy Pig, looking at the trees around them. Yes, agreed Mummy Pig. This is like the patch in the Little Red Riding Hood. I wouldn't be surprised if we bumped into the big bad wolf, said Daddy Pig. Just then, Daddy Pig bumped straight into Mr. Wolf. Oh, hello, Mr. Wolf, said Daddy Pig. How are you? Very well, replied Mr. Wolf. I'm just a bit hungry.
I'm going to my granny's house for lunch,
said Peppa. Are you really? asked Mr. Wolf. Well, I'll catch you later then. Bye.
That was just like Little Red Riding Hood,
gasped Peppa.
Meeting Mr. Wolf in the woods.
I'm not sure which way to go now, mumbled Daddy Pig.
There's a little cottage over there,
said Peppa.
Maybe someone inside will know the way.
Peppa and her family walked through a rose garden and up to the cottage. Hello, called Daddy Pig, knocking on the door. As Daddy Pig knocked, the door opened all by itself. Is there anybody home? asked Mummy Pig, wondering who would live in a cottage in the middle of the woods. Inside the cottage there were 3 chairs and 3 bowls of porridge. That porridge looks delicious, said Daddy Pig. I wonder whose it is. Hello, Peppa, cried Belinda Bear, spotting her friend.
Hello, Belinda,
said Peppa. Oh, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Bear, said Mummy Pig. Sorry to trouble you, but the door just opened, so we came inside. That's quite all right, said Mrs. Bear. It's lovely to see you all.
Are you going to stay for lunch, Peppa?
asked Belinda.
We're just having porridge, and it's not too hot, not too cold.
But just right, finished Peppa. Belinda and Peppa laughed together. We're actually on our way to have lunch at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house, said Mummy Pig. But we got a bit lost. Could you point us in the right direction, please? Mr. Bear pointed the way, and Peppa and her family set off again.
Wow,
said Peppa.
That was just like Goldilocks and the 3 bears.
with a little cottage and 3 chairs, said Daddy Pig. And 3 bowls of delicious porridge. I may have had just a little spoonful.
Daddy,
Peppa giggled.
it's like we're in a fairy tale.
Peppa, George, Mammy and Daddy Pig followed the path through the woods to the bottom of a hill. I think we need more porridge to get up this hill, puffed Daddy Pig.
Don't worry, Daddy,
said Peppa.
we're going to have lunch soon.
When they arrived at the house on the top of the hill, Peppa knocked on the door.
Granny, we're here.
Everyone was very surprised when the door was opened by Mr. Wolf. "Oh!" they all gasped. "Oh, hello," said Mr. Wolf.
Mr. Wolf, said Peppa, why are you here?
"I'm just round for something to eat," replied Mr. Wolf. "Granny Pig has made a lovely lunch. Granny Pig poked her head around the door.
Hello, everyone,
she said.
Oh, hello, Granny,
said Peppa, a little relieved.
We're very hungry after all our walking. Don't worry, Peppa,
said Granny Pig.
Lunch is ready now.
When Peppa stepped inside, she saw Wendy Wolf was there too.
Hello, Peppa,
said Wendy.
What have you been doing today? Hello, Wendy, replied Peppa. We've been having a magical adventure in the fairy tale woods. Ooh,
gasped Wendy. Everyone sat down to eat Granny Pig's delicious lunch.
Why was it a magical adventure?
asked Wendy.
It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Little Red Riding Hood, said Peppa.
Wow, gasped Wendy.
I love fairy stories.
Everyone loved fairy stories. Yum, yum, said Mr. Wolf, tucking in. Everyone loved Granny Pig's lunch, especially hungry Mr. Wolf. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Frosty Fairy Tale. Once upon a time, it was a cold and quiet winter's day. Peppa and George were playing indoors and making lots of noise. Peppa, George, called Mummy Pig, why don't you look in your box of books and pick a nice story to read? Peppa and George searched through the box and pulled out their favourite books. They giggled with excitement as they looked through the pages. Then Peppa danced all over the living room, pretending she was in a fairy tale. Snowman! Cheered George, holding his favourite book. Peppa and George loved stories. That evening, Granny and Grandpa Pig came over to stay the night. Hello, Granny and Grandpa, said Peppa and George. Hello, little one, said Granny Pig, giving them both a big hug. It's time for bed now, said Mummy Pig. Please can Granny and Grandpa tell us a bedtime story? Asked Peppa. Of course, Peppa, said Granny Pig. We'd love to. Once Peppa and George were tucked up in bed, Grandpa Pig showed them a beautiful snow globe. Then he began to tell a story. Once upon a time, he said, there was a cold and magical place called Frosty Kingdom. How do you get to Frosty Kingdom? Asked Peppa. First, you have to travel over the snowy hills, said Grandpa Pig. Then you journey through a deep, dark forest. Finally, you must climb a huge mountain until you reach the winter castle at the very top. I bet the Sugar Plum Fairy lives there and a Snow Queen, said Peppa. Snowman, said George. Peppa and George loved Grandpa Pig's story. I wish we could go to Frosty Kingdom too, said Peppa, as she and George drifted off to sleep. In the morning, Peppa and George woke up to the sound of jingling bells. They peered through the window to find out where the noise was coming from. It's snowing, gasped Peppa, and Granny and Grandpa are outside with a big sleigh and 3 reindeers. Just then, Mummy and Daddy Pig came into the bedroom. Granny and Grandpa are taking us all on an adventure, said Mummy Pig. We're going to Frosty Kingdom. Frosty Kingdom was in Grandpa's story, said Peppa. We'll be needing these, said Mummy Pig, handing out winter coats and woolly jumpers. We're travelling by sleigh. Hooray! Cheered Peppa and George, jumping up and down. Everyone climbed into the sleigh and they set off. Which way is Frosty Kingdom? Asked Daddy Pig. Grandpa Pig pointed far into the distance. First you have to travel over the snowy hills, he began. Then you journey through a deep dark forest, said Peppa. Finally, you must climb a huge mountain until you reach the winter castle at the very top. That's right, Peppa, said Grandpa Pig. After they went over the snowy hills and through the deep, dark forest, they started to climb the huge mountain. Are we nearly there yet? Asked Peppa. Suddenly George saw something move. Snowman! He squealed. Everyone turned to see a snowman waving at them. Hello, said Peppa. We are on our way to Frosty Kingdom. Peppa and George waved goodbye, and the reindeers pulled the sleigh further up the mountain. Up the mountain they climbed, up and up and up, until the sleigh reached a clearing and the reindeers stopped. Are we nearly there now? Asked Peppa. I can't see the magical winter castle. I think we may be lost, said Grandpa Pig. I'm sure it was this way. Oh no, Peppa sighed. What are we going to do? If only there were someone here to help, said Grandpa Pig. Hello, Peppa and George, a voice said. Look, it's Miss Rabbit, said Peppa. Actually, Peppa, I'm the Sugar Plum Fairy, said Miss Rabbit. You're on the right path. Frosty Kingdom is further up the mountain. This is so magical, cried Peppa. The sleigh climbed higher and higher once more and was nearly at the top of the mountain when, Welcome to Mr. Fox's official Frosty Kingdom shop, said Mr. Fox. Everyone hopped off the sleigh to take a quick look around. Daddy Pig loaded up a basket with sponges, telephones and wool. I'm sure these will come in handy at Frosty Kingdom, he said. Everyone piled back onto the sleigh and they set off yet again. Finally they arrived at Frosty Kingdom. We're here, announced Grandpa Pig. Peppa saw something sparkling up ahead. As they got nearer, she gasped. It's the Winter Castle, and there's the Snow Queen. Look, it's Miss... Hello, everyone, interrupted Miss Rabbit. I'm the Snow Queen. Welcome to Frosty Kingdom. Peppa and George waved and giggled excitedly. I wish we could stay here, said Peppa. Peppa, this is our cabin, said Grandpa Pig.
We're going to stay here for the night. Wow! Cried Peppa. This is the best Frosty fairy tale adventure ever. Thank you, Granny and Grandpa. Ho, ho, ho. You are most welcome, said Grandpa Pig, smiling. Peppa and George raced inside the cabin and looked around excitedly. It's like we're in your story, cried Peppa. Maybe we are, said Grandpa Pig, laughing. Peppa loved Frosty fairy tales. Everyone loved Frosty fairy tales. The end.
First words with Peppa Pig. Level 3. The Scarecrow. Meet Peppa, George, Granny Pig, and Grandpa Pig. Learn. Every, fly, has, him, his, live, off, put, some, them, when. Read. Shed, face, scarecrow.
Wow.
Grandpa Pig is in his garden with Peppa and George.
We can plant some seeds in the soil,
says Grandpa Pig. Peppa and George put every seed in the soil.
Every seed will turn into a plant,
says Grandpa Pig.
Wow.
Some birds live in Grandpa Pig's garden.
What a lot of birds, says Peppa. When you plant some seeds, the birds will fly down and eat some of them. Some of them,
said Grandpa Pig.
The birds eat my seeds every time I put them in the soil. Fly away.
The birds did not fly away.
We need a plan to stop them.
Grandpa Pig went to his shed. Peppa and George went with him.
Grandpa Pig has a plan,
said Granny Pig.
I will stop them. When the birds see my plan, they will not want to live in my garden. Every bird will fly away when they see it,
said Grandpa Pig. Peppa had 2 sticks and George had some cloth. They ran out of Grandpa Pig's shed and went back to his garden. Grandpa Pig put the sticks into a cross. He put the cloth on top.
Wow.
Will this make the birds fly away?
said Peppa.
Yes, every bird will fly away when they see him,
said Grandpa Pig.
Grandpa Pig has a scarecrow, said Peppa.
Peppa and George put a face on him.
He has a pretty face,
said Peppa.
Wow.
The birds will fly away when they see him,
said Grandpa Pig. The birds did not fly away.
I think they like him,
said Grandpa Pig.
Granny has a plan too,
said Peppa.
The birds can eat some of the seeds I have put in the tree,
said Granny Pig. Granny Pig's plan has worked.
Hooray!
The birds ate the seeds Granny Pig had put in the tree. They did not eat Grandpa Pig's seeds.
Now all of the birds in the scarecrow can live in the garden,
said Peppa.
Hooray!
The end. Peppa Pig, George's new dinosaur. George's favourite toy is Mr. Dinosaur. George likes bouncing Mr. Dinosaur in the garden, playing with him at bath time, and he loves going to sleep with Mr. Dinosaur beside him. At bedtime, Peppa says,
George, I think Mr. Dinosaur is broken.
George is very upset. Mummy and Daddy Pig come in to see why George is crying. Cries George. Poor George, says Daddy Pig. Maybe it's time we got you a new dinosaur. The next day, Peppa, George, Mummy and Daddy Pig visit Mr. Fox's shop. I'm sure we'll find a lovely dinosaur here, George, says Mummy Pig. Look, George, says Daddy Pig, pointing to the shop window. There's a big one.
Oh, dinosaur,
says George. Good morning, beams Mr. Fox. Can I help you? We'd like to buy the dinosaur in the window, please, says Daddy Pig. Good choice, says Mr. Fox. This is Dino-Raw. He walks, he talks, and he sings. Wow, says everyone.
Dino-Raw,
says George excitedly. We'll take it, says Daddy Pig. George is playing with Dino Roar in the garden. Dino Roar sings, Dino Roar, listen to Dino Roar, roar! Careful, George, says Daddy Pig. Don't play too roughly because Dino Roar will get broken. George wants to play with Dino Roar in the bath.
Dino Roar,
says George. But Mummy Pig says, George, if you get Dino Roar wet, he'll stop working. Peppa and George are asleep in bed, but suddenly Dino Roar comes to life. Roar! Dino Roar! Dino Roar! George, says Peppa,
Dino Roar has woken me up.
Maybe Dino Roar should sleep somewhere else, says Daddy Pig, taking Dino Roar away. George is feeling sad. He cannot play with Dino Roar in the garden, or the bath, or even in bed. Never mind, George, says Mummy Pig brightly. Dino Roar can still roar. Dino Roar, listen to Dino Roar. Dino Roar stops walking and talking completely. I think the batteries must have run out, says Mummy Pig. Already? How many are there? Grumbles Daddy Pig as batteries pour out of Dino Roar.
Hundreds and thousands,
cries Peppa as she picks him up. Peppa spots something green under a bush. What's this? Says Peppa. Is it a trumpet? You found Mr. Dinosaur's tail, says Mummy Pig. Now Daddy Pig can mend him. He might be a bit difficult to mend, says Daddy Pig doubtfully. But the tail slips perfectly into place. Daddy Pig has mended Mr. Dinosaur. Ho, 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 chuckles Daddy Pig.
Hello, Mr. Dinosaur,
says Peppa. Arr, replies George. Everybody laughs. Mr. Dinosaur is George's favourite toy in the whole world. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Day at the Beach. Peppa and her family are going to the beach. The sun is very hot today. Before you start playing, I need to put some sun cream on you, says Mummy Pig.
Okay, Mummy,
shout Peppa and George. Mummy Pig puts sun cream on Peppa and George while Daddy Pig unpacks the car. What a lot of stuff, snorts Mummy Pig. Peppa giggles.
a beach bag, a sunshade, towels, buckets and spades and a spotty ball.
Let's try out the spotty ball, decides Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig kicks the ball. It bounces along the sand. Peppa and George run after the ball. When the spotty ball has finished rolling, Peppa picks it up.
George,
she says,
I'll throw the ball and you can catch it.
Peppa throws the ball, but George misses it. George is too little to play catch the ball. Never mind, says Daddy Pig. Why don't we have a paddle in the sea? Peppa and George love paddling in the sea. Daddy Pig blows up Peppa's armbands. Mummy Pig blows up George's armbands.
Now we can play in the water,
says Peppa. Daddy Pig goes in first. Is the water cold? asks Mummy Pig. Daddy Pig splashes Mummy Pig. Come in, he laughs. It's lovely and warm. Peppa and George do lots more splashing. Then they float on Daddy Pig's tummy.
Daddy,
says Peppa.
I love being at the beach.
Daddy Pig smiles. Everyone loves being at the beach. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig is calling. She has got out the buckets and spades.
Wow.
Peppa and George find a nice spot to play in.
Daddy,
asks Peppa,
can we bury you in the sand?
Peppa and George start digging. Ho ho, chuckles Daddy Pig. Steady on.
There,
says Peppa.
Now you can't escape.
Maybe I'll just have a little sleep here then, nods Daddy Pig.
Let's go and make sand castles,
says Peppa. Peppa shows George how to fill a bucket up with sand and then turn it upside down.
Now lift the bucket up,
says Peppa. George lifts the bucket up. He's made a proper sand castle.
Hooray!
When it's time to go home, Mummy Pig packs up the car. She sighs. I'm sure that we've forgotten something. George snorts and points. Daddy Pig climbs out of the sand.
Daddy,
laughs Peppa.
we forgot Daddy.
The end. Grandpa Pig's computer. Peppa and George are at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house. Their cuckoo clock is broken.
Oh no! Can you mend it, please, Grandpa?
asks Peppa. Grandpa Pig is very good at fixing things.
Wow.
Grandpa Pig mends things in his shed.
I'll take a look inside the clock,
says Grandpa Pig. He lifts the top off the cuckoo clock. The clock falls apart.
Now it's really broken,
cries Peppa.
I wonder if I've got a book on clocks,
says Grandpa Pig. He looks on his shelf and finds a book called How Clocks Work. The book tells Grandpa Pig how to fix a clock.
Hooray! Cries Peppa. The clock is working again.
Later that day, Mummy Pig comes to pick up Peppa and George. She has brought a computer.
I can't mend that,
says Grandpa Pig. It's not broken, says Mummy Pig. I've got a new computer, so I thought you might like my old one. Granny and Grandpa Pig aren't sure if they need a computer.
What does it do?
asks Granny Pig. Peppa shows them how the computer works.
Look, Granny, you can write letters,
says Peppa.
The best thing the computer does is play Happy Mrs. Chicken,
says Peppa.
When you press this button, she lays an egg. George is the best at Happy Mrs. Chicken.
George shows Granny and Grandpa Pig what to do.
Perhaps we should keep the computer,
says Grandpa Pig.
Thank you. Bye, Granny and Grandpa,
says Peppa. The next day, Peppa and George are having lunch. I wonder how Granny and Grandpa Pig are getting on with the computer, says Daddy Pig. The telephone rings. It is Grandpa Pig.
I need your help, he says. There is a problem with the computer.
What's the problem, Grandpa Pig? asked Daddy Pig.
Happy Mrs. Chicken has laid so many eggs it has broken the computer,
says Grandpa Pig. We'll come round and pick it up, says Daddy Pig. By the time Peppa, George, Mummy and Daddy Pig get there, Grandpa Pig has taken the computer to his shed. He has found a book called How Computers Work, which tells him how to fix a computer.
There, that should do it, says Grandpa Pig.
Wow.
Hooray! My grandpa is the best at mending things, says Peppa.
So you don't want us to take the computer away? asked Mummy Pig.
No,
says Grandpa Pig.
I need it for important work.
For letters and numbers? asked Mummy Pig.
No,
says Grandpa Pig.
To beat Granny Pig's Happy Mrs. Chicken score.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
I laid 4,020 eggs, says Granny Pig.
Wow.
Wow, everyone gasped.
So I've got some catching up to do,
says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig loves playing Happy Mrs. Chicken. Everyone loves playing Happy Mrs. Chicken. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more. Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.